Hello, I'm Dr. Dawn Abbott, Director of Interventional Cardiology at the Lifespan Cardiovascular Institute, Associate Chief of Faculty Development and Academic Advancement, and a Professor of Medicine at Brown.
Hello, I'm Dr. Gada Borgelli. I am a Professor of Medicine at Brown, and I'm Associate Chief for Academic Advancement and Research at the Women's Medicine Collaborative at Lifespan. I think one of the main things for women to know is that this is their responsibility and nobody is more invested in their success than they are. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't find people that would help them and help them succeed, but I think they need to take charge of their promotions, of their academic and scholarly activities, and then make that their responsibility. I think it's really important to identify people that can help them around the process, but it's really important for them to know what to expect, to learn their tracks. I've met so many women and men faculty who don't really know what the requirements are for their track, and I think it's really important for them to learn that inside and out, find out what the criteria are, what the metrics are for their department, take charge of the annual review, write their own agenda before they walk into that review, set their goals, discuss the goals, and make sure that their chief or chair are also on board with these goals and that they can help them get to these goals in the right way.
I completely agree with all those points. The main one being, if you don't know what you want for yourself, it's hard for people to help you.
Yes.
So look to individuals who are doing what you may see yourself doing in 5 to 10 years so that you have a role model or a guide as to what's possible. And then you can specifically seek out how it is they got where they are and what you can do that's either similar or different to achieve that. So just knowing yourself, knowing what your internal metrics are for success, both professionally and personally, and making sure that the people who you work for understand your goals and that they're aligned, because there's nothing worse than trying to achieve something that you're the only one that wants to achieve it and the people around you don't see it as an achievement. So early on, meeting with the division directors or whoever is directly responsible for, providing feedback on your performance and really align your goals. It will really help.
And it's true, it's in academia, it's in science, it's in business, it's everywhere, but it's a reality. And there are data that women are judged more harshly in academia, even educators. Women are judged by students, by their colleagues and faculty members more harshly for the same performance. There's plenty of data about that. But I think this is something that we need to accept for the moment until we can change that. But I don't think that should derail a person or demoralize them. So just be aware that that's what it is and work around it. But it's really important to work to change that in the future. But I think some of the things that would help with that is that people should be finding their packs again. Find out who your supporters are, who your allies are, people that don't have a competing agenda with yours, people that are ready to support you, to mention your name when opportunities come up, people that you can come back to if you have any questions. There are some asks of women that might be more like housekeeping asks that we need to be aware of. They disguise themselves as opportunities, but we need to recognize what those are. And I think one key thing, and that has worked for me, is that I don't answer immediately when someone asks me to do something, unless it's something I'm very excited about and I really want to do. But if it's something where I'm not sure what to do about, I tell people I need to think about this. And then it would really help women to find a mentor or like a mentoring team to come back to. And then I tell junior faculty, just blame it on your mentoring team and tell the people that are asking you, oh, my mentor didn't think that this was a good opportunity for me. Because a lot of the time saying no, especially for junior faculty, is really hard. So blame that on someone that will have your back. So I think that's important.
Definitely. A lot of the challenges we face are due to just inherent social norms and bias that people don't understand. It's unconscious. And so your expectations, what people expect of you, can be very different than what you expect of yourself. So women don't ask for things as much as men. So I do think it's really important to advocate for yourself. If, like you were saying, there's an opportunity to weigh the pros and cons in terms of how much time it's going to take you for that commitment, what type of rewards or recognition do you get for that commitment? And also, it's important to link that to how it affects your compensation, because often women are not speaking up enough about their compensation or salary, maybe given positions or jobs that are not compensated. So I think those are all things to keep in mind. Seek advice, maybe people who've done those things before, and how they felt it added to their career or did not add to their career. I think one thing that's really important is getting outside of your own institution, because we are really fortunate at Brown. I feel like it's a very inclusive environment where there are a lot of opportunities for women and minorities, but other faculty may not be in the same position. And so understanding what are some of your resources outside of the university also helps tremendously.
And it helps to know that some of the challenges you face are not unique to your institution, because otherwise you'll be jumping institutions for the rest of your life, and I don't think that would help.
I found one thing, and this is not being gender specific, but you may be more of an introvert and you're trying to figure out how do you break into something like a national organization.
Absolutely.
And as you said, there are studies that men may be coming to meetings early and socializing, or staying late and socializing, or making connections outside of the work environment, when women have other responsibilities at home or other things, or may feel uncomfortable because they're in the minority.
Yep.
So it also is highly variable depending on what field of biology or medicine you're in and who's surrounding you. For example, as an interventional cardiologist, women only comprise about 5% of the interventional field. So when I go to a national meeting, there's only going to be at the most 5% of women walking around. So you have to talk yourself up and get the confidence to integrate yourself. And you will be very welcomed. I have found continually that if you put yourself out there, that people will accept you. And I think, just getting over that initial fear and building one relationship after another and one connection after another, and then that person can introduce you to another person, and so on. So I always, if I'm walking with a junior faculty and I come up upon another faculty, just introduce them, highlight their strengths, really promote the people that you're trying to mentor. Always either upward or downward recognize people's talents and skills, because it really boosts them up. So I do think that's a really positive thing.
Absolutely. Now, I think that we also need to, especially now that we have gotten to the professor level, we can definitely help other women. And I think one of our major roles is to amplify the voices of other women, recognize their talents, celebrate their talents, and then mention their names when we go to other meetings, and then, take their hand and introduce them to those people that we think might be important. So it is a responsibility for the more senior faculty to help the more junior faculty, and the ones that are introverted, and I know many of them, take someone with you and go talk to somebody if it's hard to do that job. But there's no success without doing it, unfortunately. So even if we say that, I'm an introvert, I don't like to do these things, you need to do things that might be painful or uncomfortable sometimes.
I think one of the more positive things that came out of the COVID pandemic, if we can say anything positive, is there are more virtual meetings.
Absolutely.
So there is more opportunity for people to participate that can't travel. And even though a lot of meetings are going back in person, there are still a lot of webinar formats. And you can connect with people a lot easier now. So I think that's some things to look into. But, as you said, if you don't know what the promotion goal is, you can't achieve it. Absolutely. And so getting stalled at a certain level is, it could be for many reasons, but certainly you want to make sure there's an understanding of what the timeline is and what needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important for all faculty.
Absolutely. And I think one other thing that I was thinking about in terms of the mentoring and all of that is that our local data at Brown demonstrate that women identify the lack of mentorship more often than men do. So this is an opportunity for us to make sure that we go after the women, that we make sure that newer faculty, more junior faculty have a mentor that they can go to, they can ask questions, who can promote their career and help them. Depending on the professional society, there are many professional societies that offer leadership courses or professional development courses. You just need to know about it. And there are some that are, I know from one of my societies, there are educational leadership courses, and there are research leadership courses, or just leadership for administrative roles, etc. So those are easy to get into usually, and they don't fill up every year. So make sure that you sign up for them if you're interested in that. There are some other national things that apply to people from any discipline. AAMC has some. Executive leadership in academic medicine is another. There are some local ones like the Rhode Island Foundation leadership course, which started, I think they are in their second cohort. Brown Physicians Incorporated also has one for leadership, which I hear is really great. So there are plenty of opportunities, and there are opportunities at the medical school as well. The Office of Faculty Development, we have a new assistant dean who's starting July 1st. So she has a lot of plans for even helping with mentoring clinician educator track folks. So these are some really important opportunities. Office of Women in Medicine.
You can't forget. Right? Yeah, you can't forget the Office of Medicine, Brown Office of Women in Medicine and Science. OIMS, we call it. It's an organization that's been around for nearly 20 years plus, and it spans both the biomedical faculty and the Brown campus and the hospital faculty. So it's a good way to see what's going on throughout Brown. And it has many missions, but it is a community. So there are social programs to meet other women faculty, but it's not specifically only for women. There are leadership programs, there are guest speakers, there are very interesting discussions and book clubs. And then it's a pretty easy organization to get involved and contribute in terms of eventually getting on the advisory board and contributing to the programming. It's a very welcoming and group, and Dr. Katie Sharkey is currently leading that group. I highly recommend that. It's open to all, whether you want to come to one meeting or all of them.
Yeah.
And they're very open to programming suggestions, and even medical students can participate. And the other is what you said, the Office of Faculty Development at Brown. That's where it houses a lot of career development. All of the metrics for promotion in the different tracks are all on the brown.edu website under the professional development, and you can spend hours going through all of the forms and guidelines and then know how those differ from your department. But it's a very good place to start, and they have a lot of programming too. They run workshops generally every year, promotion workshops for different tracks at Brown. So you can really dive in on those workshops and learn more. And then just circling back to the professional societies, in cardiology, American College of Cardiology has a Women in Cardiology section, which is quite large and has done not only research on barriers to women entering cardiology, but has awards, grants, special programming at annual meetings, and it's a really terrific segment of the organization. I'm sure other organizations have a similar thing. For interventional cardiology, which is a much smaller subset of cardiology, we have a SCI organization, and around 2006 or 7, the Women in Innovations Committee was formed, and that really has been a tremendous success. We started an emerging leaders program that people apply to, and it helps men and women who are selected for the program. It teaches you how to interact with industry, how to speak to journalists, how to give presentations, how to find mentors. It's global leadership skills. So look for those types of programs within your subspecialty organization. They're really phenomenal. So again, there's just people within your department, people within Brown, Office of Women in Medicine and Science, and organizations.
And one of my societies also has a Women in Chest Medicine. Another one has Women in Pulmonary group. So there's plenty of those in many of the societies. And going back to Brown, you did mention the Brown Medical Faculty Affairs webpage. There's actually a page on there that is a self-assessment, which I think is really helpful for faculty. So they can fill that out before they go for their annual review, so they know where they stand in terms of like how close they are for promotion, et cetera. And it lists all the criteria, though the metrics might vary a little bit by department. But yeah, I agree that website is really helpful. And the workshops that you mentioned, there's usually not a lot of faculty that attend that. So I think it's a great opportunity because they get divided by groups and it's easy to ask questions, and none of the groups are recorded, so you can ask specific questions about your career advancement, what you need to do. So I highly encourage faculty to attend those. They usually happen around October, November, something like that.
In the fall.
In the fall, yeah.
When speaking about the potential disadvantages of being a woman in medicine or science, there's also the advantages, which I want to bring up, which is that often you're more easily recognized, and that can act in your favor. People will remember you if you're in a minority, and particularly if you do a good job, they will remember who you are. So carry business cards with you and have your 5-minute elevator speech about who you are and what you do. And that way people will remember your name. So that's another pointer. It's like carry a card and have something quick to say when you meet new people. It's very helpful.
I think it's really important because they come back and then now they have your card.
Yeah.
And it's more likely that they're going to remember to talk to you or email you. I think that's really good advice. One other thing that I would say so our local data are no different than national data as well, but the gap that we see between men and women in the higher levels, it's much higher at the professor level. So we do see that there are a lot of women that go from assistant professor to associate professor, though we start seeing that gap there, but the gap is much bigger at the professor level. So, I mean, people have different reasons for not going up for professor, but if reasons are not major, I think that it's like I owe it to the younger faculty to get promoted all the way because I want to show them that they can do it, that they have a role model that they can ask questions of. And it's important to demonstrate that we can go all the way, that we're not stalled in between. Yeah. So I urge anybody that can to put in a little bit of time, especially if they meet criteria for promotion to professor, to definitely go for it. And then ask people around. There are plenty of people in cardiology who are full professors. There are people in pulmonary and obstetric medicine. So there's a lot of divisions that have full professor that are women, in renal, everywhere.
Yeah.
So
and
not so hard to do.
Just a reminder, you do need individuals outside of your institution in many tracks to support your promotion and serve as a referee or a letter writer. So when you're out, mentioning to people, you're not allowed to specifically ask for a reference, but if you let people know that you're going to be coming up for promotion, that's always a good thing, so that when they see a request, they'll be more likely to say yes. So that's where networking also comes in handy.
Absolutely.
Whatever it may be.
And the sponsors are also the best thing ever if they're doing a good job. I know a person who is very senior now. I think he's mostly retired. He contacts me every time one of their junior or mid-level faculty is getting promoted, and he sends me their CV and he says, this person is coming up for promotion. Would you be able to write a letter for them? And I can't say no to him because he is so supportive of junior faculty, and he was very supportive of me. He's invited me to do so many things nationally and to write different things. So I make the effort to write these letters when he asks, but these are the kind of people that can help you. Anytime I know one of our junior faculty members is getting promoted, I have a list of people in my mind of who I can ask to write a letter for them, because that might be one of the hardest things. And when you haven't really achieved a national reputation yet, or you don't know too many people, or you're it's hard for you to think of who might be helpful for you, having someone do that on your behalf, I think, is really helpful as well. So
keep a list of the people you're on committees with,
absolutely,
editorial boards with,
right,
projects with,
exactly,
because those are the people who are going to remember you. So.
Absolutely.